welcome to Brew Tapcast. I am Tap here with our fifth and final Festival of the Gods video. This is Festival Thassa's Briny Bounty. This is a real humdinger. This is a very different event than we've seen the other ones. I don't think they've had an event like this on Arena, not that I can recall anyways, is a 160 card pre-con singleton event. You get one deck choice and you face your opponent one-on-one with this goofy, huge Mondo deck. It's sure to be a fun situation. It's going to be unlike anything we've played before, I believe, which can be, pretty exciting. So just like last time, we're going to get 3 different alternate card arts. We have our Thridani Singer, Calliope, and Thassa Deep Dwelling alternative art. So those are the standard prizes, standard entry. You can play as many times until you get your 3 wins, and then you can keep going if you want to. It seems like you might want to keep doing that. But the idea behind this is, so they're saying like, like Thassa controls all these weird things, and so, they work slow and eventual, and, all the things they put over here in this text here. And what is that trying to get? I guess they fit that into the deck in the sense of the deck's pretty weird. It's massive, and it's, maybe eventually you can gain the upper hand on your opponent because the waves are slow and blah, blah, blah. So it's a very strange situation. So now we, again, just like last week, decided not to record games of this. And that's mostly because just like they don't really play a lot of limited at Pro Tours, at least for coverage, people don't necessarily want to see that experience and then not be able to have it themselves. So like limited to the Pro Tours, you can play those same formats as those pros that play on coverage, but you can't necessarily mimic the same thing because you're not going to draft the same deck every time. This is a particular instance where you could have the same deck as them and you still won't play the same game as them. It's a 160 card deck. You're just not necessarily going to hit the same cards that they're going to hit in the same way and then interact in your opponent the same way. So I can play 10 different games with this deck, and they're all going to be pretty different. So with that, we're just going to talk about the deck, and then that's kind of it. We'll just talk about what I think is a good way to play this sort of deck format thing, and then we'll just wrap it up, and hopefully everyone will have some fun. So there's a couple ways to play it. One, which I don't think is a great way to do, is sort of an aggressive stance. So really, this is going to come down to what you're going to draw and then keep in your opening hand. You could try to keep an aggressive hand if you have something like Mistcloak Herald, and then Curious Obsession is our tried and true mono blue of last year's standard. That was really heavy duty and great. You get this massive amount of card advantage, and then you just sort of carry that into bigger and badder things. So they had the Tempest Djinn was your sort of like top end of that. You had some control. You had some of those tricksters to sort of tap things down, kill mono red in particular. And those were sort of like the nice aggressive starts. This doesn't seem to be a good sort of deck to try to play aggressive. There just isn't the consistency that you want in an aggressive deck to keep those threats coming turn after turn after turn. So aggressive strategy doesn't seem to be a great thing to do with this. How about controlling? Okay, yeah, sure. So your opening hand, you try to have maybe some counter spells, a little bit of bounce, tapping effects like the water knot, things like that. Maybe that's not the best either. I mean, think about having a counter spell in your opening hand. When are you going to play that? You're going to keep it in your hand for 5 or 6 turns until they finally play something on the higher end of the curve that you actually want to counter? Or do you snap it off against a Brineborn Cutthroat or a Fairy Vandal or a Nightveil Spray? I mean, some of the 2-drops that you just maybe don't want to actually counter, you're kind of going to want to counter because you don't know when you'll actually see a threat that'll be worth countering because you don't know what they're going to draw. You could start off with, a whole bunch of high drops in your hand, or you could start off with just like 2 drops and just draw 2 drops for like 5 turns in a row. So holding up a more of a controlling hand doesn't necessarily mean really anything because you don't know if you'll be able to counter something worthwhile, and you don't know if you'll draw into something after that that'll actually be able to affect the board and sort of capitalize on that sort of lack of speed that you gave your opponent. Same thing with a lot of the bounce and tapping. So like, yes, having a water knot or something like that in the beginning of the game can be nice, but at the same time, you just don't know if you're going to catch anything with that are going to be really worth it because there's so much here. And so the way that I think that I'm going to try to play this is card draw. So you try to keep in hand that, isn't necessarily aggressive. It's more of a mid-range, but it has a lot of card draw. So really anything that's going to draw your cards, repeatable card draw is even better. So like Spectro Sailor, this looks like a really nice card to have. Just because it's going to get you a bunch of cards over the game, it's going to be there. There's not a lot of stuff that's really going to deal with it in the sense of kill it. Like, yeah, they can tap it down. It doesn't matter. You can still draw cards. Yeah, they bounce it. It's 1 mana. You'll play it out again. So that's like I think it's going to be a real MVP of this. Stuff like Opt. Yeah, that's not actual real card advantage, but you get to have a little bit of card selection, card filtering. Witching Well. Nice thing to have in the beginning. Get a little setup. Oh, I don't need those 2 extra lands on top, whatever. And then you get to draw cards later in the game. Things like that. Nightveil Sprite, you get to Surveil. Omen Speaker, you get to Scry. Stuff like that. Anticipate. A little bit more card filtering. Blink of an eye, you can bounce something, get some cards. Try to course. There's a bunch of card draw things in here. And that looks to be the way to really try to, like, churn through the deck. Because that's kind of what it seems like you want to do. You don't want to be aggressive in the sense of trying to kill your opponent. You want to be aggressive in churning through your library. So think of this as churning through your library like Thassa might churn the sea with all of her large beasts and things in the sea. So that's sort of where I'm looking to play this. There isn't a lot of ramp. You get like Mind Stone and Nyx Lotus, which, again, 1 out of 60 cards. Those aren't going to really do it. You also got Heraldic Banner. So not a huge amount of stuff there. So churning through the deck, getting some mediocre value on little creatures. You are still starting at 20, so, if you cast a turn 1 Spectral Sailor and a turn 2 Nightveil Sprite or something like that, and those just keep pounding away and your opponent can't deal with them, those will eventually win the game. But they're really not, like, big hitters. So what are big hitters? So we have some big stuff at the end, like Dungeon Guide. So first of all, Thassa. So a lot of the stuff that we are going to see here does have some nice ETB triggers. So you can get multiple Scries or Thassa's Oracle if you want to go that route, which seems really absurd. Or Dungeon Guys to tap down, new threats that come on the board, things like that. Those are sort of like some of the middle of the row that can sort of like have some little bit of excitement. You get Fairy Formation, which is a little bit of a repeatable token engine and card drawing engine, so that's a really nice thing that you want to maybe get into. Mesmerizing Benthid could be pretty cool. Not like super great. There's not going to be... I feel like the boards are going to get pretty wide here, so that's not really going to do all that much. Sir Eleanor can help make a little bit of a better time. I mean, you get to draw a card, so replace itself, and then you can sort of get some extra value of people trying to, poke your creatures, things like that. Cavalier of Gales is also really nice. Thrix can be, somewhat good depending on how you draw, but again, a lot of these upper hand things are not going to really be all that amazing just because you don't know what else you're going to draw. Dream Eater, sure, that's nice. Get to Surveil 4. That's 4 cards deeper into your deck than you would be, so that's not a bad thing to hit. And then there's a lot of the other ones are just sort of like big stuff. So like this huge dude that makes things unblockable, Artemis All-Seeing, which is a little bit of a card draw thing, so that's definitely nice to have. Commence the end game, so drawing a bunch of cards. Where's Rebuke, just to blow your opponent out. Say if you got a bunch of tokens, swinging for the win. Ugin the Ineffable, great card to have. Just get all these manifested cards and then draw an extra cards that way. Deal with a big threat, something like that. So that's a real nice thing to go into. Meteor Golem, great thing with Thassa. Smash something again. Destroy anything and everything on your opponent's side. Outside of that, you got the Slim Voda from Dominaria that can sort of throw out your opponent's board, and then you can sort of smash in for that. Magic Mirror is also there. So a lot of stuff here. You just don't know if you'll actually draw into anything all that great. I think maybe a bomb here might be Mu Yang Ling. That helps you get some repeated advantage, stuff like that. Outside of that, there isn't anything that is like, oh, if I have this card in my opening hand, I'm going to win the game. It's not that easy. So that's kind of the deck. It's big. It's going to be exciting. I'm kind of looking forward to it. They got all these 67 lands, I think is what it said. Yeah, 67 lands. Bunch of Scry lands. Mystic Sanctuary to get back something. Memorial of the Genius to draw some extra cards. It's Blast Zone to take out. Well, you can't take out tokens, but Blast Zone to take some things out. So there's definitely a lot of stuff that can can do stuff. Maybe like you end up with a Tetsuko and a Nadir Kraken, and all your little boys are your little tentacle boys are all unblockable, and that would be great. Midnight Clock also probably gonna be not so good in this actually, because you don't really want to shuffle your graveyard and your library if you're churning through stuff and you're discarding things or using things that you don't really want. Maybe you don't want Midnight Clock in there. Yes, you can draw a bunch of cards with it, for very cheap, but it's otherwise it's like maybe I don't. Maybe I want to keep my library small. Maybe I surveilled a bunch of lands or useless things that I don't want, and I don't want to shuffle them back in. So that's sort of like a hit or miss sort of card. But otherwise, yeah, that's kind of it. It's going to be who knows what's going to happen sort of thing. So I'm saying probably going to want to optimize your opening hands for some mid-range style play, card draw, early, not necessarily pressure, but like defensive pressure or something to churn through cards. Like I kind of feel like Spectral Sailor is going to be a pretty big hit, or like for your opening hand, just so you can sort of guarantee yourself some good card draw going into the game. Outside of that, I think just have fun. If you can like get down Omniscience somehow and then just like draw like, I guess in that case, maybe Midnight Clock would be good. You just draw 7 cards and throw your hand out of the board and like off to the races. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be fun. Let us know what kind of experiences you have. The matchup is going to be weird because, yeah, you're playing the same deck, but they're going to be totally different draws. You don't really know. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm right. Let me know if, like, you just think that this was a dumb video because I didn't have any gameplay. But, hey, you know what? I want to hear it all. I'd like to hear what you guys think. I hope you guys have fun with the event. I hope I could provide some help for you when you go to start this. Otherwise, get after it. I think it'll be fun. Try it out. Yeah, it's 2,500 gold or, some amount of gems, but I think it'll be pretty fun. Last thought. Castle Vantress, probably pretty good. You want that repeated scry if you can on something that can't really get bounced. I guess it can get destroyed with Meteor Golem, but otherwise, that's probably going to be a pretty good card too. Repeated scry. So with that, I hope you guys enjoy the event. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you had fun. Let me know if you hate it and I hope they never do it again. And stay safe in these times of crazy virus issues in the world. Magic is something that we can enjoy safe and sound in our own homes. And yeah, so have fun. Good luck. Stay safe. And cheers.